Looking only at Japan today, it is difficult to believe that this country was built upon land that has never truly been stable. The ground continues to move, yet more than 120 million people have created one of the societies best known in the world for precision and order. High-speed trains race forward with almost absolute punctuality, while tea ceremonies still unfold as slowly as they did centuries ago. Skyscrapers stand beside ancient temples, while advanced technology continues to exist alongside traditions preserved for generations. In Japan, it seems that the further the future advances, the more carefully the past is protected. Behind this harmony lies a land that has forced people to learn how to adapt over thousands of years. And on this journey, we will explore how nature shaped Japan before its people transformed it into one of the world's most distinctive civilizations. Millions of people around the world can recognize the shape of this mountain within seconds. Few realize that behind its balanced form lie tens of thousands of years of lava, volcanic ash, and violent eruptions. Mount Fuji rises 3,776 meters. With almost symmetrical slopes and a snow-covered summit that can be seen from hundreds of kilometers away. Its seemingly perfect form is actually the result of layer upon layer of lava and volcanic ash, accumulating over approximately 100,000 years. Its most recent eruption, in the year 1707, covered Edo, present-day Tokyo, in ash, even though the city stood more than 100 kilometers from the mountain. Three centuries of silence have turned Mount Fuji into a symbol of peace, yet beneath the snow remains an active volcano. A force that once threatened human life later entered woodblock prints, poetry, and religious belief. Groups of pilgrims once climbed its slopes in search of spiritual purification, transforming a product of fire into the most sacred image of the entire nation. Mount Fuji is only the most visible trace of a force that continues to quietly shape this entire archipelago. Farther south, Sakurajima still regularly sends volcanic ash into the skies above Kagoshima, rising more than 1,100 meters. This volcano stands only about 4 kilometers from the city. People live close enough to see columns of ash from their windows, yet life continues beneath a mountain that has never been completely silent. Here, people do not wait for nature to become safe. They monitor the direction of the wind, adjust their daily routines, and build their lives around cycles of volcanic activity. Volcanic ash causes disruption, but the soil it creates also supports agriculture and shapes the entire landscape around the bay. Closer to Tokyo, Hakone reveals another expression of the same energy. In the Owakudani Valley, steam and sulfurous gases still escape through cracks formed after an eruption approximately 3,000 years ago. Heat from beneath the earth warms underground water channels, helping to turn Hakone into an important hot spring region along the old Tokaido route. From Mount Fuji to Sakurajima and then Hakone, fire has left behind far more than volcanic craters. It created mountains, fertile land, hot springs, and even the way people understand the ground beneath their feet. But once the lava cooled, another process began. The scars left by volcanoes gradually filled with water, were carved deeper by rivers, and became landscapes that now show almost no trace of the destruction that first created them. Many of Japan's most famous landscapes were not created during volcanic eruptions. They appeared long after the volcanoes had fallen silent. Once the eruptions ended, rain, snow, ice, and rivers continued to erode the newly formed rock over tens of thousands of years. What had once been flowing lava gradually became gorges, lakes, and towering cliffs spread across the archipelago. Takachiho Gorge is one of the clearest examples of this process. Massive eruptions from Mount Aso once sent lava across this region, where it cooled into thick layers of basalt. As the rock cooled, it contracted and cracked into almost perfectly vertical columns over a very long period. The Gokasi River carved its way through the basalt, opening a narrow gorge with steep walls rising on both sides. Within this rocky passage, Manai Falls pours down from the forest above. Water, stone, and light come together to create a scene so peaceful that it is difficult to imagine this place was once buried beneath fire and ash. Yet not every trace of volcanic activity takes the shape of a gorge. In eastern Hokkaido, a violent eruption caused the summit of a volcano to collapse, leaving behind a deep basin that gradually filled with water. That basin became Lake Mashu. The lake has almost no major rivers flowing into it, nor does it have a clearly defined outlet. Its water comes mainly from rainfall and melting snow, while the steep caldera walls surrounding it keep the lake largely isolated. That isolation gives Lake Mashu its remarkable clarity and deep blue color, often hidden beneath thick mist drifting across the volcanic rim. The stillness of Lake Mashu does not erase its violent origin. The lake exists because a mountain once collapsed. Farther south, at the foot of Mount Fuji, Lake Kawaguchi was formed in a different way. Ancient lava flows spread down the mountain, blocking natural waterways and trapping water in low-lying areas. Over time, a broad lake emerged directly in front of the volcano that had created it. Today, the surface of Lake Kawaguchi reflects Mount Fuji through snowy winters, cherry blossoms in spring, and brilliant autumn leaves. The view has become one of Japan's most familiar images, yet beneath that balance remains the trace of a lava flow that once reshaped the entire landscape. When the last lava flows finally cooled, another process lasting hundreds of thousands of years truly began. Rain, soil, and time slowly transformed barren volcanic ground into the foundation for life. It is difficult to believe that nearly 70% of Japan is now covered by forests. Few would imagine that these forests began on layers of ash, rock, and lava that once showed almost no sign of life. As volcanic activity gradually subsided, rain from the Pacific Ocean, a humid climate, and time slowly turned volcanic rock into fertile soil. Over hundreds of thousands of years, the first plants took root, beginning the process that eventually covered almost the entire archipelago with forests. This small island at Japan's southern edge receives enormous amounts of rainfall throughout almost the entire year. Constant moisture nourishes ancient forests where moss blankets tree trunks, massive boulders, and the forest floor. Within these forests, many cedar trees have stood for thousands of years, growing quietly through countless volcanic eruptions and changing climates. This landscape, preserved with remarkably little change, helped Yakushima earn recognition as a UNESCO World Heritage Site and inspired several well-known films. Japan's forests are not found only in the warm south, at the country's northern edge. Shirotoko reveals that life can begin in an entirely different way. Every winter, drifting sea ice from the Sea of Okhotsk carries enormous amounts of nutrients to the coast. As the ice melts, those nutrients travel inland through rivers, sustaining forests, salmon, brown bears, Steller's sea eagles, and countless other forms of life within an ecosystem that has remained almost unchanged for thousands of years. Life does not stop at the coastal forests in eastern Hokkaido. Akenmashu National Park shows how nature can recover even upon the remains of ancient volcanoes. Large lakes fill old calderas, while primeval forests gradually spread across land that was shaped by fire and lava tens of thousands of years ago. During winter, underground hot springs keep parts of the lakes from freezing, attracting migrating swans arriving from the north. Within these forests, brown bears, red foxes, flying squirrels, and many other wild animals continue to thrive in an ecosystem that still follows the natural rhythms established long ago. But as the forest continued to spread, people also began to appear. Instead of changing nature, they chose to learn how to live alongside it. In many places, nature eventually gives way to human settlement. In Japan, the opposite happened. For thousands of years, mountains have covered most of the archipelago. Heavy snowfall, relentless rain, and frequent earthquakes returned generation after generation. People could do little to change the land. So they chose to change themselves. Nowhere expresses that decision more clearly than Shirakawa-go. The steeply sloped Gasho-zukuri roofs were not built for beauty. They were designed so heavy, snow could slide away before its weight collapsed the houses. The wooden frames were tied together with rope instead of iron nails, allowing the buildings to flex more easily during earthquakes. Every detail reflects generations of people learning to live with nature rather than resist it. Farther south, Ainakura tells a similar story. This small village lies deep within the mountains of the Gokayama region, where heavy snow once cut off access for months at a time. Isolation made life more difficult, yet it also preserved the village's architecture, traditional crafts, and daily way of life almost unchanged for centuries. Nature once isolated this community, and the same natural conditions helped preserve it until the present. Nature did more than determine where people lived. It also shaped the way they connected with one another. Situated along the Nakasendo route that once linked Kyoto and Edo, Magomi developed among the mountain slopes of the Kiso Valley. What stands out is that the road did not cut through the mountains according to human design. Instead, it followed mountain slopes, crossed valleys, and curved with the natural terrain. Perhaps that is one of Japan's defining qualities. Nature was never regarded as an enemy to be conquered. It became a teacher, requiring people to listen, adapt, and discover ways to live alongside it. As that spirit of adaptation continued across generations, it gradually grew beyond everyday life and became part of the nation's beliefs, culture, and identity. There are very few places in the world where people regard a mountain, a waterfall, or an entire forest as sacred. In Japan, that tradition existed long before the first Buddhist temples were built. The roots of this belief began with the land itself, living on an archipelago shaped by frequent earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, powerful typhoons, and tsunamis. The Japanese came to understand that some forces lie beyond human control. Rather than trying to conquer nature, they learned to respect it. Over time, that understanding evolved into Shinto, Japan's native faith, which sees mountains, forests, rivers, waterfalls, and many natural features as the dwelling places of the kami, or sacred spirits. More than 30,000 cherry trees blanket these mountain slopes, yet they were never planted simply to create Japan's famous spring blossoms. For more than 1,000 years, practitioners of Shugendo have regarded this mountain as a place for spiritual discipline in the heart of nature. They planted cherry trees as acts of devotion, gradually transforming the mountainside into a sacred pilgrimage landscape every spring. Today, Mount Yoshino remains the setting for many traditional ceremonies, while also becoming one of Japan's most celebrated cherry blossom destinations, welcoming millions of people each year. That tradition continues along the Kumano-Kodo. This network of pilgrimage trails has existed for more than 1,000 years, winding through the mountains and forests of the Kii Peninsula. The paths follow the natural contours of the land, crossing ancient forests, streams, and mountain passes, because the journey itself is considered part of spiritual practice, rather than simply a route to the destination. Over many centuries, emperors, samurai, nobles, and ordinary people all walked these trails. Their historical, cultural, and religious significance eventually made the Kumano-Kodo one of the very few pilgrimage routes in the world recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. At the end of the pilgrimage stands Saganto-ji Temple beside Nachi Falls, which rises more than 130 meters. For centuries, the waterfall itself has been revered as a sacred presence, and the temple was built beside it rather than apart from it. In Japan, nature and faith have never existed as separate worlds. A mountain, a forest, or a waterfall can all become places where people seek peace. These beliefs have endured for more than 1,000 years. What is truly remarkable is that they continue to thrive in a country that has advanced so far into the modern age. While many modern nations have traded away part of their history in the pursuit of progress, Japan chose a different path. Centuries-old temples still stand among crowded cities. Ceremonies preserved for generations continue in a country that operates some of the fastest trains in the world here. Tradition does not step aside for modernity. Both continue to grow upon the same land. Nowhere reflects this more clearly than Kyoto. For more than 1,000 years, it served as Japan's capital and became the center where many of the nation's cultural traditions took shape. Wooden streets, traditional gardens, and ancient temples remain part of a city that moves with the rhythm of modern life. Kyoto does more than preserve historic buildings. It continues to sustain cultural practices passed down through generations. From the tea ceremony and traditional crafts to seasonal festivals, yet Japan does not remain in the past. Only a few hours from Kyoto, Tokyo presents an entirely different face of the country. What began as a small town called Edo has grown into one of the largest cities on Earth, becoming a global center of technology, finance, and innovation. Skyscrapers continue to rise, yet among them stand small temples, quiet gardens, and local festivals that have survived through generations. The past has not been replaced. It has become part of the city itself. Connecting these two worlds is the Shinkansen. Since the first high-speed railway began operating in the year 1964, the distance between Japan's regions has been dramatically reduced. These trains carry millions of passengers across the country at speeds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour, yet speed alone is not what made them a national symbol. It is precision. A transportation system that operates with almost perfect accuracy reflects the discipline and attention to detail that had already shaped Japanese society long before modern technology emerged. Values formed over centuries did not disappear in the modern age. They simply continued in a new form. Yet these cities reveal only part of this country, beyond its familiar landmarks. The Japanese archipelago stretches across many regions with landscapes that look entirely different. Looking at a map, Japan appears to be nothing more than a narrow chain of islands in the Pacific Ocean, yet across a distance of more than 3,000 kilometers. It passes through nearly every major climate found in East Asia. At the southern end of the archipelago, Okinawa lies within subtropical seas filled with crystal clear water and vast coral reefs. Its warm climate throughout the year has shaped a way of life that differs from the rest of Japan. Before becoming part of modern Japan, Okinawa was the center of the Ryukyu Kingdom, leaving a lasting mark on its architecture, music, and local culture. Yet even Okinawa is not Japan's wildest place. Farther to the southwest, Iriomote still belongs almost entirely to the forest. Nearly 90% of the island is covered by primeval subtropical rainforest, mangrove wetlands, and winding rivers that flow into the sea. Roads are few, the population is sparse, and most of the island is protected as a national park. It is also the only home of the Iriomote cat, one of the rarest wild cats in the world, found nowhere else on Earth. Alongside it live thousands of endemic plant and animal species that have evolved in near isolation over millions of years. Meanwhile, in the far north, Daisetsuzan welcomes autumn earlier than anywhere else in Japan and endures the country's longest winter. Its name means Great Snowy Mountains, but it is far more than a single mountain. It is Japan's largest national park and the country's most extensive mountain range. Brown bears, Yezo deer, and many other wild animals continue to live among forests and valleys that remain remarkably untouched. After everything we have explored, it is easy to believe that Japan is a land nature completed long ago. The truth is quite the opposite. There are mountains on Earth that stopped rising long ago, but in Japan, that has not happened. Even now, deep beneath the ground, tectonic plates continue to collide, immense pressure continues to lift mountain ranges by millimeters, the sea continues to build up sandy coastlines, and heat from deep within the earth continues to find its way to the surface. Japan has never been a finished land. It is still being created. Unlike the perfectly symmetrical shape of Mount Fuji, the Japan Alps were lifted by the collision of tectonic plates over millions of years. Immense pressure from deep within the earth pushed ancient layers of rock upward, while snow, rain, and rivers continued carving into the mountain slopes, forming rugged valleys and snow-covered peaks that remain covered in snow for almost the entire year. That energy has never disappeared from beneath the ground. At Jigokudani, hot steam continues to rise through mountains blanketed in snow during winter, when temperatures fall below freezing. Geothermal springs continue bringing warmth from deep underground to the surface, creating a refuge for Japan's famous snow monkeys. But the Earth has shaped Japan through more than fire. It has shaped it through the sea as well. North of Kyoto, Amanahashidate stretches across the bay like a narrow strip of land covered with thousands of pine trees. Few people realize that this sandbar was not formed all at once. Over thousands of years, waves and ocean currents have continually carried sand to the shoreline. Layer upon layer of sediment gradually accumulated until the two sides of the bay became connected. Even today, the sea continues to build this land, so slowly that the change is almost impossible for the human eye to notice. The mountains continue to rise, and the sea continues to build up the sandy coastline. Perhaps that is also why Japan has never been just a destination. It is still being shaped, day by day, season after season, and century after century. Centuries from now, a train will still glide past the foot of Mount Fuji, arriving exactly on schedule, somewhere. The sound of a temple bell will still echo through the early morning, while spring once again brings cherry blossoms back across the archipelago. Not because this land has never changed, but because through countless changes, it has always preserved the identity shaped over thousands of years. Thank you for joining me throughout this journey of discovering Japan. I hope this documentary has brought you not only beautiful landscapes, but also a deeper understanding of a land shaped together by the earth and the passage of time. And perhaps, on a journey of your own someday, we will meet Japan again from an entirely different perspective.